Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at Horror in the Halls. What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
And we're just two high school teachers talking about the spooky stuff we love. And February is Black History Month here in the halls, so in this week's lesson, you can kiss your ass goodbye as we discuss 2002's Blade 2.
Yeah. This was a Jenny pick.
100% a Jenny pick. Although I love Guillermo del Toro, so I was 100% on board with this pick, as he's probably one of my favorite directors.
Yeah, that conversation was funny. You were like, really? That's what you want to do?
Yeah, I was like that.
Like, why not?
What? Okay. But I will say this one, out of all the Blade, it's the best Blade of the three Blade movies, for sure.
Yeah,
it does have the most horror elements. Like, the Reapers are pretty kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
They're real cool.
I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jenny pick. She threw it out there. Let's get through the deets, and then we'll talk all about the fun stuff. So, Blade 2, released March 22, 2002. They try to be real on the nose on the twos there, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Running time's 117 minutes. Again, it's directed by Guillermo del Toro, who really is one of the best creepy creature obscure movie directors ever. Really, he's known for like Chronos, Hellboy 1 and 2, Pan's Labyrinth, Nightmare Alley, and Strain, which we'll talk about here probably in a little bit. It's written by David S. Goyer, who did all the Blade movies. He wrote all of them. Dark City. He wrote the story for like The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, all those movies. He was real big in this time era. He wrote a bunch of crap back in the 90s and early 2000s. Unfortunately,
I've never seen Pan's Labyrinth, and I want to see that. The creatures in that look really cool.
Oh yeah, it's Doug Jones too. So like Doug Jones is a creature in a lot of Del Toro's movies, so it was really cool. You know, the character, of course, is based on the Marvel Comics character Blade by Marv Wolfman, which is like the best name ever, and Gene Colan. Cinematography, Gabriel Berenstain. He did Blood In, Blood Out, which is like one of my favorite like gang movies when I was a kid. I love that movie. It's ridiculous. There's this really I gotta have a little side note, then I'll get back to the deets. But there's this ridiculous character who's like it's about Mexican gangs in LA, like East LA back in the 90s. And his dad is white, but his mom is Mexican. And there's this line where he's like, I might be white on the outside, but I'm brown on the inside. And every time I watch that movie, oh, it makes me laugh so hard because it's ridiculous. He's like the most like I look like I should be at a prep school white kid ever playing supposed to be like this Mexican gangster. It's ridiculous. He also shot Fatal Instinct, which is interesting, K2 and some others. Had a budget of $54 million. It box office was $155 million. So I'd say that's pretty good.
Dang, that is good.
That's pretty good. It made $100 million. 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, but with a 68% for audience, which is I think is pretty accurate, and a 3.2 on Letterboxd, which also pretty accurate. It's a good film. You know, before I get into like the plot and the cast, I gotta say, man, like this movie, it was so good. Like I forgot how good part of this movie was. Like it was cheesy, but it was good too. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad you.
Oh yeah, I like the aesthetic of this entire film, like how dark and gritty it is, and how they slip in those like really funny jabs at each other. Like the lines are really good, and like they pick at each other, and I just love it. It makes it fun.
I will say it's probably the most early 2000s movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like the way it's shot and like the music, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of notes on this movie because I feel like I was just enjoying it while I was watching it, so I didn't write as many, and because I couldn't stop like just watching. I don't know, so I have plenty to say. My notes are very short.
Probably not gonna score well. I'm a little foreshadowing there. I can't see the rubric's not gonna be nice to this movie.
No, it's not. But you know what? That's fine because I still love it.
Yeah,
it's an A in my heart, okay?
100%. So a little bit of the plot. Of course, Blade 2, 2002 American superhero film. It's one of, pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe films. When they were first kind of dipping their foray into, or their toes into the water of the comic book movies. Directed again, Guillermo del Toro. At the time, he had done like Chronos and a couple other movies, but he hadn't done like, Hellboy yet, or Pan's Labyrinth, or Nightmare Alley. He was still kind of at the beginning of starting to get traction with his ability and who he was and his aesthetic, So it was kind of an interesting movie, just based on, because it was his fourth movie that he directed. He did Chronos, Mimic, The Devil's Backbone, and Blade 2. So that's kind of interesting. He had done nothing TV or any of that jazz. It was just, as Ron Perlman says, he He was like a overweight little Mexican guy who really loves movies. He was
I
just
love
real
it.
into it. So yeah, let's see. Of course, written again by David S. Goyer. It's a sequel to Blade, which he also wrote. There was 3 of those. They were all fun, really. I mean, Blade's a
Yeah.
cool character. It was interesting. It was like a renaissance for Wesley Snipes, who of course
It's funny
played
because
Blade.
each of them are all very vastly different and they're all good in their own way. So
The first 2 are good. The third one, I don't know if I'd throw good in there. It's decent.
I think I just like the characters, so like the people who played the characters were funny. So
Well, yeah, I mean, you got freaking Hannibal King in there as Ryan Reynolds. He's hilarious.
well, I can't ever remember her name. Is it Parker Posey? Is that her
Oh, playing the
name?
vampire in that one? Yeah, she's
I
good.
love her so much.
Yeah, she's good.
Anything she's ever been in, she just makes me laugh. She's such a jerk. She plays a jerk so well. So I really like her a
She really
lot.
does. She's a jerk in almost every movie ever.
I know. I go back to thinking about her being in Dazed and Confused, and I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's probably why I liked that movie so much because they were all I like the way who was cast in it. So
Yeah, I
that's
agree. I said it wasn't terrible. I wouldn't
no.
throw good in with that title, but it was a great. It was fun, definitely fun. But again, it's a comic book movie. A lot of people you can't put good on any comic book movie. You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be actiony and fun, and it's a comic, so it should be kind of cheesy. This is a comic about a day walking vampire who hunts other vampires. Come on, man.
I love it.
And at the height of the vampire, like, you know what I mean? Like, you had the underworld movies going on back then, all these other little small, like Dracula 2000, all these, like, trying to bring back vampires into vogue after Blade 1 was so successful, you know? So it was, like,
Mhm.
right in the height of that. Let's get to the cast real fast and we can go on to our little notes here. You got Wesley Snipes as Eric Brooks / Blade. He's half vampire, of course. Daywalker or Dampier. Chris Christopherson, which comes back as Abraham Whistler in this one, which is interesting because that was a strange mix, I thought. Ron Perlman as Dieter Reinhardt, which, fun fact, was supposed to be a Nazi in the original script and only speak German,
Oh wow.
which
Okay.
would have been interesting and a waste of Ron Perlman. Leonore Varela as Nisa. She's pretty cool. I like her character. Norman
Yeah.
Reedus as Scud, which I like seeing Norman Reedus in this too. Although we started watching it and me and Aaron both were like, oh, Scud sucks. Thomas Kretschmann is Eli Damaskinos. He's pretty awesome. He looks like a Nosferatu style vampire. I really liked him a
Yeah,
lot.
I liked him too.
Matt Schultz is Chupa. Danny John Jules is Assad. Donnie Yen is Snowman, who he also did a lot of the fight choreography in this movie because Donnie Yen is awesome, which I like that a lot. Carol Rodon as, well, the familiar Cal Kerwin. He's the lawyer. That dude plays a creeper in every movie ever. The guy that's the lawyer, he's always kind of like
Yeah.
slimy and snivelly. He's a good actor.
Wasn't he the lawyer? I could be totally wrong on this. In oh my god, 13 Ghosts.
Maybe. I like that
I was like that would make a lot of sense.
they made
I'm
that
pretty
his
sure it
first
was
name.
him.
Let's find out. He's a really good actor. Like he really is. He was also, let me see. He's also in Hellboy as Rasputin.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, because like apparently Del Toro liked working with him a lot, so he brought him back as probably my favorite character from that movie.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that is him.
I don't think
Cool.
he's not in 13 Ghosts. I'm
He just
looking at
looks
it
like
here.
the guy
Yeah,
who
he
played the
looks
attorney
similar,
at 13. Yeah. Okay.
but he's awesome as
Mhm.
Rasputin. He's a good actor all around. I really enjoy him. Let's see. We have Merritt Vale Kyle as Valerian, the red-haired member of the Blood Pack, the lover of Lighthammer. It's the stupidest character ever. I can't wait to talk about that goof. Daz Crawford is
Linehammer.
Lighthammer. Yeah. But Tony Curran is Curran or Curran, I can always say his name wrong. Is Priest, the Irish accented member. He's also in the Underworld movies as a vampire. And he's Van
Oh,
Gogh.
he is.
He's Van Gogh in Doctor Who. Love him. So yeah.
I didn't even realize that was him. That is
Yeah.
terrible. I'm usually really good at picking out who's been what movies. I did not even realize that's who
He's
that
in
was.
so many things and he's such a recognizable actor. His face is just, you know what I
I
mean? Like
loved him in Underworld a lot.
I thought he was great just in this too, where he's just kind of like a hater. Like he basically hates all of them. He's like, we should kill all these people. Like,
Yeah, when he walks into the club,
yeah.
that's great.
He's like, they're all
They're not even pure
half-breeds.
bloods. We
We
just
should kill
just
them all.
kill all of them.
Can we kill them all to be sure? You're like, yeah.
Blake's
But
probably
no,
like, sure, let's do it.
he probably would too. Yeah. No,
Oh
but
man.
like I said, this is a fun movie. I like the whole pack aesthetic. I think in a interview, Del Toro said he was kind of going for a Dirty Dozen kind of vibe, with this group with the blood
Okay.
pack. It's kind of a good like twist too that this blood pack is being trained to hunt Blade, and now
Yeah.
they had to partner up with Blade for this bigger threat.
I really I liked how the movie opened a whole lot because it looked so just I don't know. It was like almost post apocalyptic almost in the beginning
Yeah,
with like the low lighting and the the blood bank and all that kind of stuff. Like it just looked so gritty and I don't know. It opened really well and then just to see him for the first time, but you don't see like the whole thing, like him with the, because with our
yeah,
mouths open up or whatever. You just get to
wild.
see like his eyes and like the veins in his face, and he just talks into the camera and his I don't know. I guess is that some kind of a vampire like language or something? I didn't know if
Yeah,
it was like okay,
you know how you notice in like the first movie, I have all those like weird looking script everywhere. That's like the vampire
yeah.
language. They can speak it too. I totally skipped that character when I was talking about the cast. I guess I looked right over him. It's Luke
You did,
Goss as Jared Nomak. My bad.
yeah, and he's literally my favorite
Oh yeah, he's also in
character.
Blade 2. He's the main bad guy, not Blade 2, in Hellboy 2. He's the main bad guy in Hellboy 2.
Okay.
Ron Perlman's really big about working, like getting people that he likes to work with and putting them in everything. Like Ron
I
Perlman
mean,
is in
why not?
every movie he's ever made but one. He's not
Okay.
in Pan's Labyrinth. That's it. Everything else he's done has Ron Perlman in it.
Okay, cool. Well, I like that he in the beginning, after he's killed all those people that were like, that they figured out what kind of blood he had or whatever,
Yeah,
and he killed them all and was like, I hate vampires.
yeah.
It
And
was
I was
like
like, what? Okay.
I was like, dang, dude. And then it just, then you get Blade and then all his shenanigans. So
I know it was great, but I think one of my first notes was like, dude, Prague is a wild looking place. That's a perfect place to shoot that kind of movie.
yeah,
Is that train place where he's waiting? Just like you said, looks gritty and dirty, like they're in like this like real underground kind of vibe, which is what you would think vampires would have their kind of situation being anyway, because
yeah.
they're supposed to be hiding. And that freaking dude in the blood bag who puts that Freddy glove on with the needles, I was like, that shit is dope. I forgot about that. 'Cause but it was a cool juxtaposition because you walk in and it's like gritty, nasty, and he looking all like a hobo, like a bum. Then you're in like this clean, like
Mhm.
pristine operating room. The dude's putting on this crazy Freddy glove. It was really cool. I liked it a lot.
I
Just
did
all of it.
too.
I like the paint on it. Looked really good. And then it cut into the Blade scene, like that first fight scene. Like immediately you see Blade just fighting stuff. I have a funny note because he stabs a vampire dude right in the dick, and then just waits there as a pause as his body deteriorates. But I'm like, why'd you stab him in the crotch like that, Blade? That's messed up.
Oh no.
I
I
was
like the
laughing.
guy, the really like the little chubby dude that
Oh, the
he
one he
keeps
lets
like
get away. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much.
With his little tiny glasses on his face. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was
I liked
good.
him
That
too.
whole scene was cool though, man, where he like puts his helmet down on the motorcycle wheel and like rips it off. It was a cool scene. The CGI doesn't stand up to today's standards, but I'm sure it was real
Yeah.
rad looking in 2002,
I mean, I thought it was.
it's kind of
So,
hard. Like I was talking to Aaron about that. Like judging these movies based on like effects and stuff in 2023 is a little unfair for the
yeah, it
CG
is.
because in 2002, I'm sure it was like the height of technology and we probably looked great. Now I'm like, that looks like he's drawing with crayons. Why does he look like a rubber man right now? What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I like the fight scene with him and the pack or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, every fight scene where he goes in the air, you're just like, oh man, that's not a real
Yeah.
person at all. Okay. I mean, there is some harness work being done because that's why kind of Donnie Yen was there. He does a lot of those like big Japanese type martial art movie choreography where there's a lot of like
Gotcha.
harness work, a lot of flying. So there is some of that. Man,
Mhm.
some of the CG is horrid. The vampires deteriorating looked good. That
Oh
didn't look
yeah.
bad. And it's just when Blade is moving through the air. So like the CG of stuff like that is cool. But when he's flying through space and stuff, it looks not like space, but like through the airspace, it just looks
Mhm.
ridiculous. But I
Oh,
actually
yeah, you
like
can definitely tell it.
the intro music. I like the electronic feel because it's very from that time period. That's what they kind of did,
Mhm.
which I kind of was cool. I did think I had another one. It's like if Blade wastes so many bullets, like you make all these hard to make rare bullets, and you're shooting vampires 5 and 6 times when one bullet makes them deteriorate. I had a note. I was like, way to waste your bullets, man. One shot is all you need.
Yeah, that's overkill.
Well, yeah, especially because they're always talking about how hard it is to make all their stuff. Like these are all custom made bullets, because even like later in the movie when Whistler gives the blood pack all those silver bullets, talks about how hard they were to make and whatever. And Blade's out here
Yeah.
just like da 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 da, yeah, all the bullets. I'm like, what are you doing,
He's
man?
gotta he's gotta look cool, man.
Hell, the one guy in that first scene is already deteriorating. He shoots him like 3 more times. I'm just like, what?
He's like, I hate you so much. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
shoot you in the face.
I hate vampires so much. Yeah, that one was silly. And another thing I pointed out I thought was real dumb that was super O2 is had the vampires snorting like crystallized blood. That was super dumb.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just an interesting way to see about how they would get their blood, but why would you do that? It's stupid.
Might make them seem more hardcore, I guess. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, like yeah, I want
Because
to
I
see
mean, they were
drugs.
kind of. It wasn't that they were like in some kind of warehouse, like they were like selling stuff, like
Oh
shady.
yeah,
They're being shady.
vampire drugs because
Vampire
2002.
drugs.
It's vampire drugs. If you took vampires out of this movie, it would have been about a rugged cop trying to stop a crazy new drug ring. It's the exact
Yeah,
same movie.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a
pretty
street
much.
ninja. I'm here to stop you from selling drugs to
Street
the kids.
Ninja. Yeah, but me and Johnny were watching it, and he was like, "I really like all the Asian style fighting." I was like, "He's almost like he's a samurai." So at some points, I was like, "Yeah, there is an Asian aesthetic to Blade." So
Well, it's because, like I said, in this one especially, because Donnie Yen, like Snowman from the Blood Pack, is the choreographer, so it has a very Japanese style choreography for the fight scene.
well, even his bedroom in that warehouse that he stays
Yeah.
in, it's very, very minimal, and it's the bed is like close to the floor, and then the lighting sits really close to the floor. Everything is like an almost an Asian aesthetic. So I was like, they did that on purpose.
Well, yeah, I think it comes from some of the comic stuff where Blade is more like follows like the Bushido code kind of deal, you know?
Uh huh.
Like all about honor and stuff. And him with the sword, he has a very like reverence for his sword and that
Mhm.
style of sword fighting. He's got a very like Japanese style of sword fighting. So I guess that's where some of that comes from.
That's
Like, and it's funny. Some of the fun facts I have here is that Wesley Snipes apparently has admitted this is his favorite Blade movie.
is it?
Yeah, he's
Hmm.
his favorite one. He said because apparently he went into it, he was real anxious about being able to come back to this character and it be successful and believable. But yeah, apparently he like out of the three, he likes this one the best. I think it's the best one. I think
I
by
think it is
far.
too.
Blade 1 is good. Blade 3 is kind of silly. I like, some of the characters brought in from the comics. That was cool. Dracula, whatever. But this one, it was just interesting, and I think it had that dark aesthetic. It's very, of course, I mean, I'm biased because I love Del Toro.
I
But yeah.
like the storyline to this one and how fleshed out the characters were like with Nisa and Nomak, and Eli was kind of sketch because you don't get much on him, you just know he's the worst,
Yeah.
but I really liked her character a lot. And I think Blade, I liked his how his character kind of took a turn in this one, where he accepted himself a little bit more after working with her. I
Oh
liked that
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. He kind of like slid a little bit more into his vampire side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think it was cool because apparently there was originally going to be a sex scene between them,
Ah,
and they
I think
cut
that
it
would have
out.
ruined it.
Yeah, it was probably a good thing they cut that out. It'd been weird.
I don't know
But
if it would have been weird. I just don't think it was needed because you could tell that there was chemistry between the two. But it wasn't. I feel like it was supposed to be very subtle because he doesn't show emotions very well. So
or at all, he's like a
yeah,
robot.
yeah. And then when he does, it's he means it. So I think that's important. I don't know if I would have liked if they had added that in.
No, I
I think
agree.
that
I don't
would.
think it would have been great
I feel like it would have taken away from the story.
because you had that implied and it was good, but then she had to
Yeah.
die. And he still had the whole like, oh, I'm sad, nonsense of it.
Oh, I'm so.
Yeah, it was cool though.
Let's be real. He was sad for probably 5 minutes after that, and then he was fine.
Real talk, I want to say he didn't give shit. It was all about that whole back to that honor code thing. Like he respected her, so he let her die like that, and then he was like, on to the next.
Yes.
I don't give a crap. I did something funny that Aaron noticed. Surprisingly, I didn't even notice every time I've watched this. This movie Del Toro did with almost he wanted to do it, but like having Ron Perlman in this movie was the sole intention of proving to studios that Ron Perlman could do an action movie and be a
Okay.
character actor because he had been trying to get Hellboy made for like years before Blade 2, but he was so insistent on Ron Perlman being Hellboy that it kept getting shut down. Nobody would do it. And like he would
That's
go
so
in,
weird.
even Perlman has said himself in interviews, I told him personally, look, I appreciate you, but don't worry about me. Take my name off of it. You'll get your movie made. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then he would go to another meeting and be like, nah, it's gotta be Ron Perlman. It's gotta be Ron Perlman. And he had such a hard time. And then when this movie was such a success, I mean, it made like $100 million. Then they were like, they kind of like allowed Del Toro to kind of write his own rules a little bit or his own check for Hellboy. And he was like, I'm gonna put Ron Perlman in it. And they were like, okay. because that was like the
Well,
whole
and he
purpose.
was a great Hellboy. I loved him in
Oh, he's
Hellboy.
stellar Hellboy. Like I like David Harbour too, but Ron Perlman is Hellboy to me. Like that Hellboy. It's not. If I could talk about a whole episode about Hellboy, because it's my favorite comic book ever.
I do like that story. I
They're
haven't read
great.
the comic books or anything, but I do like the two movies I've seen
I think
with.
the new one with David Harbour is more like the comic books, but the other one, I think having Del Toro do it, allow him to put his Del Toro spin on it, meshed up really well. I
And
thought
I
it was
like the
great.
guy who plays Abe.
Yeah, that's Doug Jones. He's awesome. He does
Yes,
all of Del Toro's character work.
I love him so
He's in
much.
so many things as a character actor. Like he's in that new Star Trek show.
Yes, and I love him in that.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yes, he's one of my favorites.
For he's been doing it for so long. Like in some of his interviews, he's random skinny characters in like 100 million
Yeah, like he
things.
was in oh my gosh, what's that movie called with the demons and angels in it? Dang it. And he's the ice cream man.
Oh,
And he
Priest.
gets out his mouth
Yeah,
dropped. I
yeah.
don't is
So
it
gross.
it's
No, it's
not
not Priest.
priest.
I know you're talking. It's the same
Led
character though.
Legend? No.
No, dang it.
Legion.
Legion. Yeah, yeah. It's
That's
got the
it.
same guy in it from Priest.
Yeah, it does.
I love that
Paul
movie too.
Bettany.
I don't care what nobody
I
says.
I like it too. The old lady on the ceiling. Sorry.
Yeah, it's good times. I know
We,
we're not in this movie
maybe
at all,
one day we'll
guys.
cover that one.
My bad, my bad. But anyway, he's great. I wish he was in this movie. He'd been a cool Reaper.
Yeah, he would have. Ooh, he would have been creepy because
Yeah, all gangly.
yeah.
I didn't think it's cool when I first watched this because I like the strain, and I really thought that he just he was inspired from this movie to do the strain. But apparently, when I was doing research, he had already written the idea for the strain like a long time ago, and the
Okay.
Strigoi vampires, and he tweaked them a little bit for Blade 2. So really, he was using his own original version of a vampire that he already created for that TV show / book, and just put them in
Okay.
this movie. I think it's kind of cool.
They were very cool vampires. I thought it was
Yeah.
really neat how their mouth opened up. That
Yeah,
was
if you like
the
that, you
coolest thing.
should watch The String because they're very similar. Like their mouth
Yeah.
opens similar, and they have that stinger that comes shooting out, just kind of
Mhm.
like how Nomak does in this one. Like the
Yeah.
ones in The Strain are very similar to Nomak, and like the leader of big vampires are like giant versions of what was his name in this one? The main vampire guy, Damascenos. Like they're like oversized versions of him. They're the original
Okay.
elders. There's even a character that's like a kid of one of those that looks really similar to Nomak. Like I didn't check, but it could almost be the same guy. He looks very similar to him. How his face and the
Okay.
paint is done, but it's kind of cool. But like I was talking, I got sidetracked earlier about my story. Scud, almost the whole time, is wearing a BPRD T-shirt, which is the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, which is from Hellboy. There's like he was just kind of little nods in this movie.
Oh,
And
okay.
Mike
Gotcha.
Mignola actually worked on this movie with him as like he did like some of the art stuff in the back. So that was kind of cool.
I like how Whistler called Scud Skid.
Yeah, look here, Skid.
Tell me something, Skid. And he was like, "It's Scud." I'm like, yeah, it's so funny.
Whatever.
Because he sucks.
He did. Like at first, I was like, "All right, Norman Reedus, I see you in here, dude." And then like, "You suck, Norman Reedus." At the end, I'm like, "You deserved everything you got, you piece of crap."
He was like, what did he say? It's a dud or something. I'm like, and he's like, no,
Yeah,
it's not.
I've been on you
I
for
was
a
like,
long time.
I'm
Get
like,
him, Blade.
you can't pull one over on him. Shut up.
That's what I'm saying. We've been on to you since day one.
Oh my god, I love it so much.
That again was a very cheesy action movie twist. Oh, a twist. Oh, a twist again. What's up?
Yeah.
You thought you got me. I was just kidding.
I like oh, there's one thing I wanted to note too, because about the time lapse shots that they did where it was like a quick descent into nighttime.
Yeah.
I liked how they did that because you're talking about vampires, so I like how they like speed up daytime to go into the nighttime. I like those shots that they did that on.
They looked extra cool too, because again, Prague is a crazy looking place. Like it's beautiful, but it
Mhm.
looks ancient. You know what I mean? Like it looks
Mhm.
like Victorian or older, and it really fit the aesthetic. I'm pretty sure he recorded a lot of Hellboy there too, or filmed a lot of Hellboy there too. Just because it just looks like a place out of that kind of world. You know what I mean? Like there's no cities here in America that's going to look like that. It's going to look too modern and too clean. Maybe New York
Yeah.
in the '80s possibly, but not now. It's just too cleaned up. So you don't have that kind of old architecture with just some of the lighting angles and stuff. Because you're right, those scenes are awesome looking because you're seeing light move through like really cool angles and
Mhm.
areas, and all their sets and in this movie looked awesome. Like the fight scene between Blade and Nomak in that church.
Oh yeah, that's cool with all the
That is a
like
all the stained
platforms and
glass.
stuff.
Yeah, and the stained glass. What's cool, I was
Mhm.
reading this. Apparently, Del Toro wanted to make Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange's amulet, the amulet of Agamotto, is they recreated it in one of the stained glass windows. He had a whole treatment for it, but Marvel didn't take it.
Huh.
Marvel made a lot of stupid decisions in this movie. Because apparently, originally, David S. Goyer wanted the main bad guy not to be Nomak. He wanted it to be Morbius, to bring Morbius into the
Oh.
Blade world. And they said no, they wanted to give him his own movie. And that movie sucks. So look what they did.
I actually like that movie.
Because you have bad taste.
You know what? Shut your mouth. I can like things that you don't like.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine. But you
fine.
should like things that are crap.
You like things that are crap,
No, I don't.
so
Everything I
like
like is good.
no, I disagree. Really?
Everything I like is superior. Everything you like is garbage. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No,
It's like
it wasn't like a horrid movie, to be honest, but it would have been way cooler to see Blade fight Morbius, and then Blade 3 could have been Blade and Morbius teaming up to fight Dracula, and that would have been cool.
yeah, that would have been cool. I agree.
Marvel
But I
dropped the ball
also
on
would
that.
have also would have missed out on I did like the story with Nomak a lot.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I'm glad it didn't happen. I just thought it was kind of interesting that they made that decision. Also, I think
Yeah,
a
it
Del
is.
Toro Doctor Strange would have been crazy.
Oh yeah, it would have.
It wouldn't have fit like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but if he'd have made it pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe, it'd have been pretty neat.
Yeah, agreed. I do like Doctor Strange is one of my favorites. So
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, but apparently Del Toro's a big fan of that and was trying to get a movie made. Like, come on, man, let me do it. And they were like, no. Like, he was going to write it with Neil Gaiman, which would have been
oh my
movie
gosh, that would
ever.
have been like the ultimate pair up.
For me, oh my God. My favorite author and my favorite director at the same moment. I'd cry. It would have been great.
I love Neil Gaiman so much.
It would have been
I
good.
told you when I was watching Doctor Who at one point, I go, man, this is a really good episode. I wonder who wrote it. And we looked it up. And it was Neil Gaiman. That makes sense.
Yeah, duh. That's why it's so good.
That's why it's good.
There's also,
I mean, they're all really good, but that one was like
oh yeah,
exceptionally good.
and also you can tell when he wrote something. I think we talked about this
Yeah.
on the previous episode, but you can tell whenever he writes something. So in case
Yeah.
you didn't know, guys, we really like Neil Gaiman here.
We do. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's really funny in person too.
Oh, that I'm a little jealous.
Next time we'll go together. We're gonna
Okay.
hang out with Neil. Next time he writes
Yeah.
a book and comes here.
Oh, he needs to come on with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be so
Yeah.
pumped.
That'd have been cool. Apparently, also another little fun fact: over 30 members of the cast and crew were blinded by the misuse of UV lights during the vampire autopsy scene in this movie. When they turned those lights on, I guess they weren't shielded properly, and 30 people were temporarily blinded.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
Oh
how
my,
do you mess that up?
that would scare me. So I was temporarily blinded for a little bit. Ooh, I'm telling you, some of the things they do in movies are like on the, just in the backstage area or whatever. I'm like, there's no way hell I would do any of this stuff. So, but anyway.
I wonder what studio released Blade 2? It was New Line. Okay. Yeah, they're dumb, man. They messed up. They should let them use Morbius. Now Sony has it, and it's sorry. I was still on that Morbius track. It's kind of cool that I guess Del Toro had this Nomad character already kind of created because he made him up on the fly for this movie.
Oh, he was cool.
Yeah, I think the whole Reaper angle was cool.
Mm-hmm. I like oh my gosh. I want to talk about the scene where they first go into the club and you see, and then you got the comment from the one that you see, like, what is his name?
Priest.
Is it Priest? Okay. And Priest is like, just kill them all or whatever, but
Yeah.
they were like flaying each other open and stuff. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the hell is happening? It was like they were just mutilating each other and it was just like, just whatever. It's like that one vampire just like leaned over a table and the guy's like peeling the skin back and I'm like, ugh, that hurts me.
I know. I feel like because like David S. Goyer, I'm sure he also wrote the new Hellraiser movie or the story at least. So he's probably like, yeah, let's do some creepy Hellraiser stuff.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, that does make sense.
He also came from the writer of Demonic Toys and the Puppet Masters. So
okay.
and
Well,
he
there you
wrote
go.
2 of my favorite Van Damme movies.
Van Damme movies. Now I'm making fun of you. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. I know. I love those. It's my guilty pleasure. When I was a kid, dude, all the time.
I can like Morbius, and you can like the Van Damme movies. It's fine.
That's awesome. One of us is right. One of us is wrong. It's fine. Whatever.
Sorry. Oh my god.
Anyway, back to Blade.
Stupid. Anyway, but I was like, that whole scene, like they're all doing something funky. I'm like, what is happening?
There's more of like the blood crack or whatever they're snorting, blood meth, I guess. going
Yeah.
around, and it was just a ridiculous. It was like, how much ridiculousness can we put in one scene in this movie? And you could tell
I
like
know.
Blade wants to kill everything in that room.
Well, even the Blood Pack wanted to kill everything in that room because
No,
they were just like really
God,
annoyed with how
I
like
hate all of you. And
they're
I
like,
liked that the little dude from the beginning was in that club scene again. He sees Blade like, oh crap, and he gets up and
and
tries
he
to
was like,
leave.
yeah, he's like, yeah, it's time for me to go.
Oh damn, I gotta get. I like this scene too, where like Reinhardt's like got his little laser pointer at him, a little light
Yeah,
laser pointer, his laser sight at Blade, and he's like,
his laser
feel it.
pointer.
And then the guy next to him was like, "Hey, he got you." And he's looking down at his crotch like, "Dang." Blade's like, "Hey, hey, hey." He's just like creepily laughing.
Yeah, he like smiles real big. I'm like, dang, he doesn't show emotion ever. When he smiles about that, it's like, I could kill you
Oh
right
man,
now.
but I love the whole Blood Pack. I had a note that I thought was really funny when you first meet the Blood Pack. The two, when Nissa and the other one come in to give Blade the invitation or whatever.
Yeah.
Odd. I was like, what? Why do we have vampire ninjas? Like what? Because those dudes were straight up ninjas. They're all flipping through, and that was when the CG looked real bad. Like that fight
Yeah,
scene
that's what I mentioned to
looked
Johnny. I was like,
so
golly,
bad.
that CG's not
They
good at
looked
all.
rubber. It was not good, and like, but it
Yeah.
was cool to see these little vampire ninjas. But I was like, what world? Because their outfits looked cool. Like,
Mhm.
production design of this movie was really rad. I will say, everyone looked good. Like the way they all had different outfits. Even
Mhm.
when they put on the weird stormtrooper armor later on, it still was like kind of individualized to each one, which I thought was kind of cool. Although like I thought half the blood pack was stupid. Like Lighthammer was really dumb.
She was like a big oaf.
Yeah, but your weapon's a giant, ridiculous hammer with a huge handle. Like, I'm not even sure if I could hold that hammer carefully, and I'm way bigger than that dude. Like, my hands are like, that thing was so big around. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna swing this around this tiny vampire that I can't hit for shit because I'm using a gigantic hammer.
I know. I was like, I loved. Okay,
Why are you on the team?
I loved the size difference between the two in that scene and how like the little guy was just tearing him up. I'm like,
Yeah, when he dug his
I,
whole
I'm
fingers in
like
his
that was
back.
like,
Ugh.
oh gosh, yeah, that's
Ugh.
terrible. But I was like, it was perfect because he acts so big and ominous, but he really just ruined all that.
Yeah, he was just dumb.
Scene. He was just not good. He wasn't good.
Well, I said
There's nothing good about
he
him.
was a completely useless character for the most
He
part.
was.
He was there
Well, she was too. They were just there, like, just loving
as
on each
extra
other.
members because she didn't kill anything, and then she dies because he's a vampire. And like, oh, y'all are lame. Y'all are lame.
Yeah, she kills herself to kill him.
Hmm.
I'm like, that's whatever. Maybe you should have died because you're not a very good character anyway. You're just a side thought. But like, I loved Reinhardt because I thought he was just an ultimate jerk, which I appreciated.
Oh, he was great. You know, his glasses never come off the entire movie. You never see his eyes.
Oh yeah,
Like not one time. The
I
one thing
love
about
that.
this that I thought was kind of interesting, or really not interesting, but kind of stolen, the whole like hunter group, all that was kind of taken from Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Because there's a guy in that group that uses a giant spike hammer.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I feel like David S. Goyer, because it came out 2 years before, just really watched Vampire Hunter D Part 2. But Blade's whole character is very similar to Vampire Hunter D, so they kind of overlap there with the Blood Pack. I was like, and I might be wrong. They may have been from the comics. Maybe Vampire Hunter D stole it from Blade first, but it came out right before, and there's a giant dude with a hammer that kills vampires. I'm all at the same time, I'm like, that is the stupidest weapon ever to kill vampires.
Yeah, like what's that gonna do to a vampire?
Well, in the anime, it's a giant wooden spike that he just crushes through their chest, so they
Oh,
die.
okay. Well, that makes sense. But his hammer didn't look like that in Blade.
No, it was stupid. He had that weird spike in the back. I'm like, what are you doing? And they thought he was cool when he broke that one's neck, and then it just came back, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, except
Yeah,
for in Vampire Hunter D, they're like brothers or something. They're the Marcus brothers, I think.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some of the blood pack weren't necessary, but at the same time, I guess they wanted, so many. I guess they thought that his name's Lighthammer, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming he was like they just figured he was brute strength, like that was gonna
Well, I
get
think they were
Blade or
trying to
something.
talk about like creating this pack or this group, the Hunt Blade, that's from all sections of the vampire world. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he's very much like has that like native, like almost Maori kind of, or how they depicted like foreign sailors back in the old pirate movies, because he has the weird facial tattoos in the bottom part of his jaw. So that was kind of
Yeah.
cool. He looked cool. Don't get me wrong. He looked silly with his like, I have no shirt on and his armor on one side of my neck. It was silly, but aesthetically, it was a cool character. He looked like a comic book character, which I thought was kind of cool. They
Yeah.
all did when you first meet him. I like that, like Snowman, or was that his name? Not Snowman, is it? Hold on. What's Donnie Yen's name in this? It's not Snowman.
There's
It is
Chupa.
Snowman. So yeah, he's like
Which one's
mute, but he's cool.
Snowman?
He's the Donnie Yen. He's the Asian dude with the katana.
Okay, Chupa's the one that picks at Reinhardt a little bit.
Yeah, Chupa's the dude from Fast and the Furious, who's a
Yeah.
dick in that movie too.
Well,
He just looks dirty all the time. Like, he looks like he
yes,
smells
he
like
does.
cigarettes and alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, I look at him, I'm like, "You look like you smell, like you just do."
Just look like you got some body odor going
Yeah,
on
you got
and
some BO happening, and it's not like a
some
good
stale
smell.
cigarettes.
Yeah,
Ugh.
like Jason Momoa looks like he smells like outside, you know what I mean? Like, he just looks like, "I
Yeah,
smell
he
like a
smells
dude.
musky.
I smell like the woods." This guy looks like he smells like a dumpster, like, in my face. He just he
He
just
smells like an old bar
yeah,
scene.
exactly. You
He
look like
does.
someone who fell asleep on the bar that got thrown out, and all those smells are there.
It's just permeating off of you. That's great.
Yeah, and, like, he's a good actor, I guess, but he's ridiculous.
He is
And
ridiculous.
then the whole Blood Pack really is cool. I like Danny John Jules as Assad because he is from Red Dwarf, which is like one of my favorite ridiculous British sci-fi comedy shows from like the 80s, 90s. He plays the
Okay.
cat in Red Dwarf, so like he's like been around for a long time. It was cool to see him in that role. Again, Tony Curran is awesome as Priest. I wish he lasted longer, really.
Me too. I was getting ready to say that. I'm like, why did they kill him off first?
Yeah, because he looked cool, and his character, because that's what I kind of like. All of them have like this, like they all look like they're stuck in whatever era they became a vampire, right?
Yeah.
Because Reinhardt definitely has like this German vibe, and he has the coolest weapons though. Those crazy knife guns he has going on, those are rad. But like, with his weird beard that wraps around the back of his head, but he has that like, I'm very much like I was killed like during the Nazi occupation by a vampire. Tony Curran's like, I'm an old school Irish guy. And he kind of dresses that way still a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Chupa
Yeah, I
looks
was
like
really
he just
bummed by
lost a
him.
car race and they made him a vampire because it was like Stratford. They got him in a NASCAR meet. He was like,
Oh no. That's terrible. You're stupid.
yeah, I know. But I did like the whole
Gosh.
aesthetic. I like those fight scenes.
Yeah, I
I
did
like the
too.
use of
And
like the techno soundtrack.
I like how they started figuring out like it was light. It was like sunlight that could kill them, and that was like the one thing.
The only
So
freaking thing. I know they're like, you're wasting your bullets. I don't care. I'm like, okay.
yeah, Trooper just kept using all of them. They're like, stop shooting. It's not gonna work. Oh man.
Yeah, there's some
Um.
other cool things in here, but
Let me see. Blade has some really good lines throughout the whole thing. There's, I don't remember when he says this. He gets really frustrated at one point, and he's like, "Obviously, you all don't know who you are fucking with." And he's like all pissed off, and I'm like, "Dang, dude, okay," because he doesn't normally like show enough emotion, and when he does, it's like, okay,
yeah,
because he
because
doesn't say much.
think about
He
how he
doesn't
was
have to.
raised. You were raised like in a cage by a whistler who sucks. He's just like my
Yeah,
favorite.
which
That's
is
why I added it in the intro. Like, you would kiss your ass goodbye when he talks about blowing his head off. I'm like, come on, Wesley Snipes, why are you ridiculous right now? It's very 90s looking.
yes, it is.
But some of those one-liners are okay, and some of them are just not good. I think that some of that, and it's funny in the DVD commentary, Del Toro actually says he doesn't have many good things to say about David S. Goyer. He points out that some of his groan-inducing dialogue in the DVD commentary, although he admits that such bluntly expository lines as "now you've got an explosive device stuck to the back of your head" are beautiful in a way, but the rest of his dialogue he thought was clunky, and he hates the CGI in this movie.
Those are the two biggest takeaways, really, on like things that were done poorly. Is those two things, really? But
Yeah,
like,
some of the
I
writing's not
did.
great.
No, it wasn't. But some of the one-liners I did like, and I'm not going to say it yet. But there's a line at the very end that I really liked, and I thought it was more poetic for the character.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to talk about
Well,
that
like
yet.
you said, you made a good point earlier. You talked about you got to see like Blade's character grow in this one, which I
Hmm.
wish they'd have continued with in Blade 3 because
And
they
they didn't.
didn't. They just kind of ended it. It's like these movies all stand separate,
That's
which,
what I said. And they're all vastly different.
yeah,
That they're all structured different. Even
yeah, like
it's so weird
this one they
how they
talk
did
about Deacon Frost, like, oh, thanks for Deacon Frost, you did us a favor. But then it's
it.
like nothing from that movie other than some of the weird scenes carry over.
I know, right?
Although there were supposed to be some characters in this movie that were tie-ins to that movie. That there was supposed to be a vampire that was the twin of Tracy Lords' character in this one. So she had like that,
Okay.
or her sister or whatever. So you had some carryover, but there was none of that. They threw it all out.
Interesting. I thought the layer with I can't remember what his last name is. Eli's character,
What, Damaskinos?
Damaskinos.
The
Okay, yeah.
Overlord?
I liked the layer that he had and like how they trapped Blade at the end,
Yeah.
or if they thought they were gonna trap him. It's really stupid. But that whole like the fountain of like blood coming down in that pool and like just the big like I don't know, it almost looked ancient meet like
Like modern.
modern. It was really weird, but I liked how they did that. And when Blade falls in that big pool of blood because he's lost a ton and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, it's the first time he's ever like soaked up that much blood.
I know, like it's
Like
all blood.
ever.
Yeah.
And he comes out, I'm like, he's about to kill all y'all.
Yeah.
He comes up out of there, I was like, dang,
That was
he
a
looks
cool
vicious.
scene when he walks
It
out
was
and
a
he's
cool
like,
scene.
like, okay, okay.
He comes out all flow, he's like dripping blood. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I like that. Even though the blood looked really stupid, kept pouring off of him. The
Yeah, it
way
was too
because
thin.
it would have looked a lot different.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think
Um
the Damaskinos' whole character was ridiculous. He's like, "Close the door, no one's getting in here," and then he just jumps over the door. I'm like, "What was the point of that whole dialogue? Like, lock it down, no one will get through that door." And he's like, "Cool, I'm just gonna jump on it as you close it."
like
Stupid.
you created him. What do you mean he's not gonna get through the door?
Yeah, stupid.
Yes, he is. He wants to kill you.
His layer had a cool vampire effect though. Like we talked about that a little bit in the Fright Night episode, how like his study had that feel that he was an old vampire.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same here. You had that feel that he was an old vampire. And that cool
Mhm.
scene where he walks in his own little bath of blood and his like
Yeah.
cape is floating out behind him. That was kind of cool.
And they're like, well, what about your daughter? And he was like, oh well.
Yeah. Oops. What daughter?
You know, if she dies, oh well. Like, damn, you do not run deep. There's no loyalty there.
Obviously not. He turned his own son into this vampire.
I know, right?
But it was cool.
Hateful.
Cool.
It was cool.
I mean, his whole purpose of this whole thing was to get them involved so he could get Blade's blood. I mean, that was it.
Yeah,
You know,
to make that pure, perfect race of vampires that could just overtake everything,
yeah, your
which we all
favorite.
know never goes well in any movie. So,
No. Yeah. So
let me see. I like that whole scene at the end too, where Nomak finally comes and talks to his dad. Well, not talks to him, but like confronts him is a
yeah.
better word. He confronts his dad and then almost confronts his sister, but she gives him permission to do whatever. And he's like, "Well, you were his favorite."
I know, right? I was like, man, is he gonna kill her? Yep. Okay. Okay.
So I liked that whole and in the scene where he's fighting Blade, that looked good. That's where some of the CGI was not good, but I still liked the scene a lot. So, but I like how Nisa's like, "Oh, you're trying to get out and go get in a helicopter and leave? No, you're funny. I
Yeah.
changed the code and I'm shutting the doors.
Yeah. We're
So
not. You're not.
you're stuck."
You done fucked up, Ron. You done fucked up.
And he's like, "Why would you do that?" And she's like, "Well, because this is your fault. All of this is your fault."
Mm-hmm. He deserved it.
So I loved her character. I thought she was probably the most loyal and noble of all of them. Like she accepted herself. She was good about seeing everyone's side. And then when she finally found out the truth, it was like that hard blow that she wasn't expecting. Because that's how loyal she was, and
Yeah.
I really liked that about her.
She felt like he
She was
betrayed her. That was kind of cool.
yeah, and he did because I mean he was doing all this behind her back, and she had no idea. And if she had known, I think she would have put a stop to it.
Oh, for sure. Her character was cool. The only thing about her I thought was kind of silly. Like in that scene when they're doing the autopsy and she's like, "It's a neurotoxin." Like, you just smelled a neurotoxin? What? I was very confused. Like, how do you know it's a neurotoxin? Like, it's a neurotoxin. I smelt it.
I don't know, man.
Girl missed me with that. But other than that, it was cool. I was also laughing. I had a little note here about their giant surveillance cameras. They were sticking all the little poles were like 5 inches long. I'm like, damn, 2000s tech was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, I didn't notice any. That's funny. We always notice something different.
I was just making fun of it. I was like, that's dumb.
That is stupid.
And there's
Well,
a couple funny things that were kind of silly.
like what?
Well, I had one of my big points out, and me and Aaron talked about trying to figure it out. Why did Priest change super fast, but Lighthammer didn't? Right? Like I know it was for the plot, but it made it seem kind of silly because Lighthammer was kind of stupid, but he took like forever to transition into a Reaper when Priest changed like in a couple minutes.
Maybe I chalked that up to this is just how way my brain works. I chalked that up to how big he is and how like bad the bite was because he was able to pull him off a little quicker and maybe he didn't. That's why it took longer for that like venom almost to get through him. It's like when they weigh you at the doctor and they have to know how much you weigh to give you a prescription. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. That's where my brain was.
That makes
I don't
sense,
know if
though.
that's
I mean,
right.
that's logical, I guess. It's more like I didn't think about I should have thought about that with the whole size thing, is that's like kind of my thing.
And also, Lighthammer, you freaking suck because you allowed yourself to get to for that to happen, and then you don't tell
You
nobody.
lied, you motherfucker. Exactly, dude. Like you
You killed
motherfucker.
everybody around you, just about. You were going to.
Mm-hmm.
Because he killed the guy that you really like, which I am drawing a blank on his name. Because I, for some reason, didn't write his name down. He's the only one that didn't.
Oh, Assad?
Yeah, Assad.
Yeah,
He killed him, didn't he? It
I
was
think
him.
so, yeah.
And then obviously he came after her, but she opened the whatever that's called. The
The light grenade thing.
no,
Oh,
she opened
the pothole thing, like the
the
manhole
pothole
cover.
cover,
It's a
manhole
manhole
cover.
cover,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. She opened the manhole cover and killed both of them. Which I mean, I guess
It was
she
Romeo and
would have done
Juliet
it
vibes.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Romeo and
just
Juliet vibe. All right, man.
but yeah, he sucked.
I could talk about this movie for 5 or 6 years.
Well, we can't. So,
No,
uh,
do you want to get into the rubric and kind of give it its grade?
well, before we do that, there's one last line I wanted to talk about because that's the one I thought was very fitting for Nomak's character. Is when Blade finally kills him, like gets to his heart or whatever.
Yeah.
And he says, where's it? Where I put it? Shoot. Oh, he goes, "It's strange. It hurts no more." It was like that, like the realization, like crossed his face, like I should just let him do this to me, or because now I don't hurt anymore. So it was really cool. I don't know, I just really liked that line for some reason.
Well, yeah, they kind of hinted on that they were like, because of how fast their system was moving, that they needed to eat all the time. So he was probably starving all the time.
Yeah, and it felt like he felt like a drug addict
That and
because
his
that's really
body
what
had
it.
completely shifted.
Yeah, and then at the very, very end, it circles back to that stupid vampire from the very beginning that you keep seeing, like the whole thing. He's getting ready to sit and watch a show.
He's like, "You think I forgot
Like,
about you?"
yeah, he's like, "Well, you didn't think you forgot about you, did you?" And he was like, "Oh," and that's how it ended. I was like, "That's pretty good." I like it. Kind of ended on like a funny note
That
instead of
was
a
a good
sad
wrap
one.
up.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we can get into the rubric. I just wanted to talk about those last two things.
No, it's fun. Like I said, I have a lot of. I could talk for a long time. Like there's silly black stormtrooper armor, and some of those scenes at the end are really cool. But I'm going to talk about them in the visual and design part.
Okay.
I don't want to talk too much about those things when we're just talking about them again. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
All right, so let's jump right into the rubric here. So we'll start as always with the literary element. So the script, story development, dialogue, character development, areas rather. So we'll talk about how the narrative supports all of it, most of it, only a couple points, one of them or none. So it has every category has 25 points as usual. So yeah, let's jump into it.
I would give this a really low grade, honestly. I don't. I liked the character development of Blade in this one, even though it was very subtle, and I liked Nisa's character and Nomak's character. I thought those were really well done. But like, I don't think that like the dialogue was done super well.
No, and there were some story choices that were silly.
Yeah. So I wouldn't give it the lowest, but I think maybe a 10.
That's what I was thinking because there were some really great scenes that I think are ruined
Mhm.
by silly story choices. Like when Reinhardt and Blade are fighting and Blade cuts him in half, and that looked awesome. But like beforehand, like Whistler throws him his glasses, and those glasses just fly perfectly into his hand. He's got to put them on. It ruined the whole scene. I'm like, that was stupid. Like, why'd you do that? Like for
I
the
almost kind of
story.
wish he would have not had his glasses at all because
Exactly.
I thought he looked badass with his contacts and all
Yeah,
that. It looked
well,
good.
it's kind of his thing. He wears the glasses, whatever. But
I
that was just
know, but
dumb. Like, and also like his glasses, those damn things are made out of like freaking whatever bulletproof vests are made out of. 'Cause he's getting punched in the face and shot at and falls off stuff. They never break or crack or nothing. Oakley was like,
this
yeah,
might
dog, strongest glasses ever.
this might make me I might this might be seem ridiculous to some, but like I feel like once he came out of that big bloodbath and he looked just really like just really cool and the glasses ruined it for me.
Yeah, so
I'm like
they ruined the whole
I
scene.
just wanted him to be a badass vampire for just a minute.
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? And it just kind of ruined it for me.
Because he
So,
started off, he comes out of that scene. That scene looks really cool. I mean, the blood could be a little
yeah.
thicker, but it looks cool, you know.
Yeah.
And then he has that really cool fight scene with Reinhardt and all those other little goons. It's a great scene. And he's like, "Oh yeah, your glasses." It ruined the scene. It took me out of it. It was dumb. So yeah,
It was dumb.
I can get behind a 10 on this. I think
Yeah.
some of the choices and the dialogue were clunky. Some of the just some of all of it was just kind of clunky. Not done very well. I think it could have been fleshed out a little bit better. Had Del Toro written this, it probably would have been a lot better. But alas.
Yeah. Agreed.
David S. Goyer had to 90s it up. It's like, Let the
Yeah.
90s die. Kill them if you have to. Some of the story tropes in the 90s were silly. All right, so 10 for literary element. We'll move on to FX design element. So visual effects elements that connect to the narrative, set design, overall character design, gore, practical versus digital effects. Now, again, I mentioned it earlier. I don't want to take a bunch of points off for the CG because I don't think that's fair from an '02 movie versus
Mm-mm.
20. Because today the CG would be trash. It would be like a 5. But at
Yeah.
the time, I'm sure it did not look as bad as it looks on a high definition TV today. You know what I mean? We didn't have 1080 and 4K in '02, so like you would have noticed as much of the rubber
No.
band people and things like that.
The rubber band people.
So I'm not going to hit as much on
That's what
that
they
as
looked like,
they
dude.
100% did as I normally would. What I want to talk about though is just some of like the digital or the visual effects elements, how the set design looks and the character
Mm-hmm.
design, which I thought was really successful in this.
Yeah,
Like
it was.
to the point how Blade looks, and they make all these effort. Like you almost never see him without his shirt on, but they make all this effort to do that crazy tribal back tattoo and all the little nods to making sure the characters looked individualized, right? So like they all had their own kind of aesthetic and how they were dressed, and you could tell what period they were from. Like all the Blood Pack, for instance, you got an idea of where they were from and who they were just based on how they looked.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
I like
really cool.
I liked how they were all vastly different. I
Yeah,
thought
like
that took a lot of time and effort to do it like
Like,
that.
even when they were wearing similar uniforms, like Nissa and Assad still had that, like, almost Middle Eastern, that era, India, that kind of vibe, look about their person, which I thought was cool. Snowman
Mhm.
kept the Japanese, with the kanjis on him and stuff. It looked cool. Lighthammer never really changed. Priest looked like an Irish lord from back in the day. It all really fit. Reinhardt's character always had that kind of like air of superiority. You can tell that he was definitely based on like a
Yeah.
Nazi officer. And then of course Chupa just looked like trailer trash the whole time. It was perfect. So I really liked that. I thought the way Scud looked, his character fit
Oh
how
my
he looked.
god. Yeah, he looks dirty too. This is a
Well, yeah, but he looked like a dirty stoner. Like he fit
like
that
a
character.
hippie. He
Yeah.
looks like a hippie.
He looked like a
Yeah.
kid who grew up watching comic movies in the '90s. Like he fit that time period
Yeah.
perfectly.
He
How he
did.
looked, how he dressed, the hair, all of it. Whistler, of course, fit his character well. And don't even get started about the actual set design of this movie. All the sets are really nice. Like you said, you have a
Oh yeah.
great mix with like gritty and old and dated and kind of dingy, scary looking, like dark underbelly of places. And then you have the vampires throwing in that real clean, modern aesthetic that's kind of clashing, but also works together because you see it's like,
It shows the hierarchy
yeah, and what you expect
too really
vampires
well.
to do, and then all of a sudden, here's where it
Mhm.
really goes on. So I really enjoyed that. I thought this one scores really high for me on just these elements. Like there's a scene in the club when the Blood Packs first gets to the I forgot something with Pain, House of Pain. When they get to the House of Pain
Yeah.
and they're first fighting the Reapers, and they cut that one in half, like he's stabbed by Snowman, then he splits himself and claws up the wall.
Yeah.
The CG of him crawling up the wall and whatever, but that scene of him being split in half and you could see inside his body like that was really cool. I
Yeah, it
thought
was.
the way their mouth opened was really cool. How like you
My
saw the
gosh, yeah.
line on their chin, but then you saw it kind of diverge and then
Split.
split open, and that was rad. I thought, especially for the time period, it was really good.
Yeah, I would have been terrified.
Yeah,
I probably would just pass
I
out
would have
in
died. I'd
hopes
become
that
one
that
fast.
didn't.
Dang, I'm a big reaper now. Dang. But I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. I liked the
Yeah.
difference in the vampires. I thought they didn't all look the same. It was cool to see Damaskinos as like this elder vampire and how his skin looked like marble. He looked old.
I said, "Ew, he looked juicy." That's what
Yeah,
my notes say.
100%.
He
But
just looked
he
slimy.
looked
Ugh.
like that regal vampire, and where he
Yeah, he
looked
did.
good. So then this one, I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna take off points for the visual effects because I feel like at the time they would have been good versus now. So I mean, I would give this one like a full point. I think the set design sells it for me. I like how the characters look. They look like comic book characters to me. So I'm thinking
Okay.
2025. What do you think?
I would probably go with a 20 just because there's some of those, like, I know we can't take off too many, that's not taking off too many points for those elements, but they still are there essentially. So
Yeah, I think I was
I
just
would
trying to
say,
think about how they would have been in 2002. I was trying to put myself
yeah.
there. And I
Hmm.
like the gore in this. I like how the Reapers had like NyQuil blood, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool.
I would give it a 20.
And the rising blood scene was really good, so that was pretty cool. All right, cool. I go with that. 20's good. All right, my visual technical element. So overall aesthetic of the film is pleasing to the eye, lighting, creative camera shots, and movement and lens selection. This also was really good. Like we talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
Some
I
of
liked this
those
a lot.
time lapse shots and just catching the light move through the city of Prague was really, really beautifully done.
Well, they played on light a lot in this one, but
Yes.
I think that was on purpose.
Well, yeah, 'cause,
So,
like, some of the ones where he's, like, shooting in the ceiling and the light comes through, and that
yes.
a very, like, almost overdone trope, but it fits for vampires. I mean, what's their number one thing is, the sun, which I think is really cool, and it kinda ties into them being so different as we all are so reliant on the sun. So I really like that aesthetic or that, like, kind of idea to the story to bring it in.
Mhm.
So that looked really good. Like I said, the way they shot light again was good through the stained glass. You got the different colors coming through. It just looked, I think, pretty solid. Like as long as you can step away from the CG, which I don't count as camera shots because that's all done on a computer. Even the fight shots were shot fairly well. The cuts were good. You had some nice scenes of movement. I thought were really neat.
I thought the tunnel scenes were really good too at the end.
Yeah, and the
And
sewer
then
scene had some really cool light shots.
yeah, because there was a point where Lighthammer turns and behind he's like, what's that called? Backlit
Yeah,
because the light was behind him, and then he turns around, all you can really see is his eyes
yeah,
and his like big ominous figure. I thought that was really cool.
and as he
That
steps
was a
into
good.
more light, his mouth opens up. You're like, that was a cool shot. Like it
Yeah, it
was
was a
cool.
really cool shot.
And like that scene of when Blade's fighting all those vampires down in the pit and like one of the light grenades goes off, and it doesn't affect him like the rest. So you have him totally bathed in that like white light and he's just
Mhm.
cutting the vampires down as they pop up out of the water. I thought was really cool. Like
Yeah.
and how they made light almost move like fire in this. I think it had like a really kind of good play on it. So I could go with another like a 20 on this one.
Okay.
Maybe even higher. What do you think?
I was thinking of 25 on this one.
Okay.
I thought the lighting and the shots were really good.
They were. I agree. Like I said, even though it starts with a fight scene, it's got cool movement. You know what I mean? It has action movement, but also there's some really nice decisions
Yeah,
in
because
this
the
film.
angles sometimes when they're fighting are it shows it from above and sometimes it shows it from
Yeah.
below. Like the scene where he's fighting Nomak in the church or like that little cathedral type area.
Yeah.
They shoot from all different angles that whole time, and it shows the camera movement help move them through the scene. I thought that was really good.
And,
They did a really good job.
and for me, I'm just dealing with it because again, I love Del Toro. He storyboards most of the things you see in a Del Toro film. He has drawn out on a storyboard. Like he goes shot for shot. Like this is what I want to see. He has a very
Okay.
good and strong idea of this is what I want, and they get it right. So cinematographer's like, I got you. Apparently, I've watched some interviews of other people that worked with him that just love working with him because you never have to guess of what he wants. He has this. Here's my drawings. This is what I want. We're going to do it like this, and it's always beautiful. And yeah, so I can 100% go with a 25 on that.
Okay.
All right, the sound element. So the sound represents the overall tone of the film. The soundtrack, as well as the score, keeps the audience engaged with the setting, characters, location, and narrative of the piece. Not a great soundtrack, but not a bad.
No,
I mean, it's very
there's some really cool additions to it, but I wouldn't score this super high. I would go middle ground with this one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You have some cool like electronic music for the fights. It's very, like I said, 2000s. Very has that vibe. I was thinking 15 on this one, probably maybe
Mhm.
even a 10, because some of it was just music, right? It wasn't like atmospheric. It wasn't like the music in the action scenes was good. Otherwise, you're just using songs for no reason to be there. So
Yeah, he's eye against eye.
yeah,
That's slow motion walking in
yeah,
to the club.
it's a good one though. That's what I'm saying. They picked some of
It
that
was
right.
a good one. Yeah, this one doesn't like stand out a whole lot to me. So I would say 15 this time.
Okay, all right. So do my little math here. Was that 70?
Mhm.
All right, Blake gets a big OC.
That's not as bad as that I thought it would
No, I
be.
was thinking D for sure. But I really think like the design element and like the visual technical element, a lot of those were very reminiscent of just Del Toro, and I kind of knew I was not going to knock anything because I love every movie he's ever done.
Yeah.
This one I think would have been a lot better had he written it. I think the
Yes,
story would
it
have
would
moved
have.
better and been less clunky. Like some of the
Mhm.
clunky dialogue fits and it's okay because it's a cheesy comic book character, just like the Marvel movies they have it. But I think it kind of hurt the movie a little bit with some story choices.
Yes.
But yeah,
But it's an A in my heart,
yeah,
so it's fine.
it's a fun watch. Highly suggest you get out there if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, even though
If you
we
haven't
talked
seen all
about it for
three of
two
them, you should just
hours,
watch them
definitely
all.
watch them. They're good. It's good pre-cinematic universe Marvel movies. They didn't have such ties with Disney censor and everything. It got kind of dark and gritty. And I look forward to the new Blade movie. Hopefully, it's as good as these are. That'll be interesting to
Mhm.
see how they do that with the new cast. But of course, will probably be more comic related and tie into a bigger story. But hopefully, we'll see some continuity between new Blade movies when they come out. So yeah.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, guys. Blade 2, 70, great film. They're all, like Jenny said, all good movies. A little disconnected, but they're all solid. This, I think, for me, is head and shoulders above the other two.
Yeah, this is my
Just in
favorite.
terms of tone, what it is, how it looks. It looks amazing. Of course, if you like Del Toro, you should have seen this anyway. You know, as like a completist, you got to watch everything he's ever done. If you like The Strain, the vampires in this are very similar, and they're really cool to see like an earlier version of those vampires. So that's really rad. So yeah, check it out. You anything else you want to add this week, Jenny?
No,
All right,
don't.
guys. So if you're still reading along with us, My Soul to Keep, we're still reading that.
Yes.
We're about halfway through. I'm not sure how far you are, but so yeah, we'll do a check in pretty soon for the Horror in the Halls book club. We know it's just one person. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks, Crystal.
That's about it. Yeah. Read along. Let us know what you think.
Hey, this we'll get it. It's fine. More people will start to fall in and do it with us.
Just read books, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
Movies
come
are
on, just
cool, but
read.
also
That's
read
fine.
books. It's also a really cool book. That
It
has
is
a
a very
really
cool book.
good take on something very similar to this, really. So get with it, y'all. All right, Jenny, anything else you want to add?
No, but I can tell everybody where to find us.
Tell them where we're at.
All right, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Dreffels on Instagram, and you can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Leave reviews. We're on nearly every platform now. So if you're on Apple, we're definitely there. Still waiting on YouTube. We're everywhere else. So find us, listen, let us know what you think. And that'll be the bell. So we're going to get out of here. We'll see you next time.
Bye.